playing games for about 4 decades or so now, since the 90s. Yeah, more or less since the 90s. So I've been through all the up and downs of the NES, SNES, TurboGrafx 16, Genesis, Mega Drive, Sega Saturn, Dreamcast, PS1, aka the PSX, the Neo Geo, fuck, everything, man. I've been through all that shit. And, I can remember times when I was like, places where I was at when certain games came out and just like made everybody look in a certain direction, whether that be because we were mainly looking in magazines back then, and we take what we can get. And I'm noticing a pattern nowadays that just because we, the people, have access to things doesn't mean that it's the best way to do things. With people taking the video games, that people taking the video games and streaming it online, essentially on Twitch or YouTube or whatever, and they stream the entire game. We, the people, don't have to buy the game and support the publishers that make the games. I find it disgusting, actually. I wish YouTube would do something about that, where people just can't stream on there, or there should be some sort of like video game law in general. Like, you keep the M rating, keep the whatever ratings, keep them whatever the creators want. But I believe the creators need to put their foot down and make it so people can't stream their game or record their game in its entirety to be shown online. The first 30 minutes or whatever, fine. First hour, sure, whatever. But the entire game from beginning to end, so people don't have to play the game in any way to get to see the entire game? No. Get a sample should be allowed, and then have people go out and, buy the whole game. That's great. Give them a little taste, you know what I'm saying? The fact that anybody can stream and everything like that, I think that's disgusting. I think personally, the stream, if you want to show the entire game in full, I think that you should only be able to film that thing in 360p, or maybe even less. So 360p for any game you want to stream full from the entire end, and that would be legal. If you want to see 720p or 1080p or whatever higher on your TV, you buy the game. But for developers, studios to allow the games to be streamed in the highest quality and yada 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 for free on Twitch and like YouTube, watch-alongs, I find that really disgusting for the industry, and really damning for the industry. So now they have to raise the price of games to $70 in the future. Bit my tongue. So now they have to raise the price because the cost of games is getting higher, obviously. So we, the consumer, have to pay more money. So that's how it's going to go. That's if you get it first day one, yada, yada, yada. People will find ways to get it cheaper. So these games I thought of were the games, took me about 10 minutes to get this list. And some person in the same thing, basically the point of this thing was name something that would get your gamer card revoked. I said this. It took me a long ass time to get a PS4 because I didn't see anything new that popped my interest. I got it eventually when it was super cheap, like $200 with Spider-Man. It was $200 for a couple years, but with Spider-Man, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm all in. So I was thinking about games that define a generation for the prospective generation of consoles. I thought of Tekken, Tomb Raider, Final Fantasy VII, and Metal Gear Solid for the PS1. If you were around back then, you know how earth-shattering these games were. I believe Tomb Raider was like the first big-scale solo female-led besides Metroid or whatever, but fully out there, in the 3D game environment there, adventures and dinosaurs and double guns. Metal Gear Solid of its kind was the first, well, to us, the first stealth game, especially with cinematics and cool storytelling. Snake was cool. Final Fantasy VII broke all barriers when it comes to RPGs, and Tekken was the first cool 3D fighting game to have on your PlayStation. Virtua Fighter, of course, was another 3D game, but people were just gaga over Tekken. I mean, just Jesus Christ. PS2, Devil May Cry came out there. We all know how cool that series is now. Final Fantasy X, because it's the first actually fully 3D rendered Final Fantasy game, and doesn't have the blocky look per se. And it actually looks good for like its time per se. It looks really good for its time. Used a lot of the hardware, the CG, and everything. It looked great. Everyone was talking about Final Fantasy X back then. Trust me, everybody was talking about that. GTA 3, the controversy with that game, the first ever well-known 3D free roam game, and a lot of games now still use the same formula from 20 years ago. Free roam, 3D character, in an environment there. You can go in any direction that you choose within the boundaries of a particular gadget that you can go up and down buildings and do water and stuff there. So you can go anywhere you want to in the 3D space. Kind of like Mario 64. So kind of like that one. Mario 64 had it so you had control of where you wanted to go, but you had to go you had to go where the amount of stars allowed you to go. But in GTA 3, though, it was not about that. You have to complete certain story missions, and then you get access to other parts of the city. So it was more free roam than that one. I think games nowadays like Neo, and Sekiro, yada yada yada. You can go pretty much wherever you gotta go within the boundaries of that particular level. Beat the boss, go, and then go someplace there. But you can go in that space. You can go any direction you want. God of War was pretty damn awesome. It was an over-the-top, ultra-violent game. Really cool effects. A game based on a Spartan was really rare back then, especially with a big prestige like that. Persona wasn't really known that much back then, but we all know back then that Persona's big now, but it wasn't that big back then. Same thing with Yakuza. Not many people knew about those games, but those games defined a generation at that time. So, like, I had the privilege of having access to look at a lot of games really cheap or free. So I saw these games. I was like, wow, these games are really fucking good. No one knows about them. And yeah, and they're huge now. But I knew about it 20 years ago. Last of Us came out at the tail end of the PS3, but people are still talking about that game today. As you can tell with the sales of Last of Us Part 2, people really like the game. But I have some questions about Last of Us Part 2. Oh boy. Unfortunately, I don't think the game's life has spread past 1 month for Last of Us Part 2. Last of Us, the original game, people were talking about the game for years. Uncharted, people were talking about that game for years. Because, 1, 2, 3, Nathan Drake, cool guy. Red Dead, great cowboy game by the makers of GTA, Rockstar. So, yeah, people, I think people still talk about the game today, but I think it's been I think it was like 2 years, and then it fell off. GTA 5 for some reason is still here. I was in the PS3, and it survived all the way to PS5. Can you fucking believe that shit? Rockstar didn't have to make another GTA game because GTA 5 did so fucking well. This is, if you want a sequel to a game, you buy the game in heaps when it first comes out there, and then just let it drop. They know it was really good there. They want to do that again, let it drop. Because money keeps on coming in on a big way in GTA 5, there's no need at all for them to make a GTA 6. There will be a Red Dead 3 before there'll be a GTA 6. So, wow. I don't know why people keep playing that thing. Things like cancer, because people keep running over with your car. I don't understand this fucking game. Demon Souls. Demon Souls is a very controversial game that punishes you for dying but rewards you for living. So, defining games of the PS3, those are some of them. I think Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, that was really cool. Bayonetta was also really cool on the PS, no, not the Xbox 360, but defining now because Bayonetta is a mainstay in characters' mouths right now. PS4, I only had one thing on the top of my head: Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn for the time, like, was huge for like 2 or 3 years. I think that game kind of fell off like the last year, but then resurged again on the PS5, and everyone just lost their shit because they remember how cool Aloy and her adventures were. So Horizon Zero Dawn is huge. When I think of like other genre-defining games on the PS4, I can't think of any. Most of the games in the PS4 that people talk about are remakes and remasters. Nothing like of a new IP that blows people away. You can say Sekiro, you can say Bloodborne, you can say Neo, you can say Ghost of Tsushima, but guess what? They're all Souls. They're all Souls clones. There's nothing really new or fresh about them. It's like a name, it's a setting. I mean, you copy the Souls formula essentially. Horizon Zero Dawn doesn't copy that formula. Horizon Zero Dawn has a lot of different things going for it. When I was playing the game, there's a lot of different things you can take for you. There's a little bit of Zelda in there, of course, with the shooting and the horseback riding, things like that. There's a little bit of survival elements from other games. I think Tomb Raider had that where you kill animals and you use them for like quote unquote your power. So yeah, so it had elements like that one. Zelda with the caves and everything, so that was pretty cool. A different feel in the caves. Having robot enemies fight against you, that was new to me. I've never seen fought against robot animals. Animals in games against me, like, that is kind of rare in the first place. Animals against me, especially when like I'm like armed to the teeth per se. I don't think you have guns in the game. It's mainly your bow and arrow, but the bow and arrow is really cool in the game. I think you do have a gun or whatever. I think you have a rifle in the game. You do, but they're not as effective as using your other weapons. Like slingshot is really good, and your bow and arrow is really good. And them making it so those archaic or childlike weapons are really good in the environment, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Using something like, and anybody nowadays can make a game where you use your gun and use your rocket launcher, your shotgun, and you blow enemies away. Anybody can do that one. People have been doing that one since like the original Halo or Call of Duty. Handgun, shotgun, bazooka, sniper rifle, call it a day. Even Resident Evil 4 has that kind of stuff. But in Horizon Zero Dawn, a slingshot and a bow and arrow are your best weapons. Who would have thought? And they make it work. And the enemy's animals are very smart. You gotta fucking move. You can't stay there and do it all day. You gotta think carefully. And the fact that you use mines and traps very efficiently in the game. Even in Resident Evil 4, one of the best games of all time, the mines are useless in that game. I never really played a game where mines are actually useful because the animals in the game have a very like forward straight like head-on mentality in the game. Planting mines where they're gonna go and teasing them to fall into a trap, brilliant. And sometimes the animals will jump over that motherfucker and surprise you. I'm like, yo, this game is the shit. It's so unique and so different. So, like, yeah, HZD, definitely top of the class right there when it comes to PS4. But that's about it. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Clack off.